Yes, hello to everyone. I welcome you all to this new Daily News Digest edition. Today is 24th of December, and I have two articles from the Indian Express which need to be discussed. The very first article basically is about the why growth of India's overall green cover is not all good news. यहाँ पे what is important for the students is the data because the 18th State of the Forest Report 2023 by the Forest Survey of India is out, and this shows a marginal gain of 156 square kilometer in forest cover and a sizable increase of 1289 square kilometer in tree cover since 2021. This is for the very first time India's green cover has exceeded the 25% threshold, that is 25.17% of the country is now under forest, and tree cover is approximately 3.41%, and forest cover is 21.76%. Of this, 4,10,175 square kilometers is classified as dense forest. Obviously, this is a good news, but the article is saying that this is not all good news. Trees and forests, tree patches smaller than 1 hectare do not count as forest and have been measured separately by the Forest Survey of India as a tree cover. That is why we have different numbers for forest cover and different for tree cover. The latest cycle has registered the sharpest growth in tree cover, which the numbers are given here, but I think the numbers can be seen. You don't have to remember every single number which is given here, but the broad trends are something which you should keep an interest in. Apart from that, they've also mentioned that there are forests within forests because there are dense forests, then there are marginally dense forests, moderately dense forests as they are called, and there are also areas which can be called as non-forests, NF. So please try and remember the acronyms associated with all: open forest, very dense forest, moderately dense forest, and non-forest. And there are specific numbers as to them. Since 2003, India's state of forest reports have been made available on the changes in data metrics, which stitched together indicates the broad trends over the last 2 decades. What is the balance sheet of the forest? This shows that 3,913 square kilometers of dense forests are there, an area larger than Goa, have disappeared in India in just 2 years since 2021. This is consistent with the worsening trend over the past 2 decades when we have had a loss of dense forests in the country. And the smaller ones, they are seen to be rising. Overall, India has witnessed the complete destruction of 24,600 square kilometers of forests, which is more than 6.3% of its dense forests, and it is almost half the size of Punjab. Apart from that, another thing that needs to be remembered is what are the implications. Under the opaque veneer of overall stability and growth in forest cover, the trend of steady replacement of natural dense forests with plantations has been criticized by experts. Earlier, where dense forest used to be there, now we only have plantations. Plantations usually have trees of the same age and often the same species and are vulnerable to fire, pests, and epidemics, and often act as a barrier to the regeneration of natural forests, which are definitely more diverse and perform a variety of a wider range of ecological functions. And they also support numerous species. Apart from this, old natural forests also stock a lot more carbon. They are definitely very good for carbon sequestration. And in 2018, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change flagged India's assumption that plantations reach the carbon stock level of existing forest in just 8 years. Plantations are frequently promoted for their rapid growth, which can achieve carbon targets faster. On the flip side, plantations are often harvested more readily, defeating climate goals in the long term. Now, there's a question which can be made on this particular topic. The question basically is, which of the following statements accurately reflects the challenges associated with the growth of India's overall green cover as highlighted in the India State of Forest 2023 report? First, India's forest cover has consistently increased at a steady rate since the turn of the millennium, indicating positive trends in national forest conservation. No, this has not been the case. In fact, India's forest cover has been declining. Second, the overall increase in green cover largely includes plantations, which often replace natural dense forests comprising biodiversity and long-term ecological balance. This is absolutely correct. Third is dense forests in India have expanded rapidly due to natural forest regeneration without significant loss of natural dense forest cover. No, this is also incorrect. Plantations are as effective as natural forest in terms of carbon stock and biodiversity conservation as recognized by international climate conventions. This statement is also wrong because plantations are not as effective as natural forests. They have their own limitations. Now coming to the next article for the day, ex-Supreme Court Judge V Ramasubramanian has been appointed as the new National Human Rights Commission chairperson. Please remember that we have had a recent posting in NHRC, and an ex-Supreme Court judge, that is Judge V Ramasubramanian, he has been appointed as the ninth chairperson of the NHRC for a tenure of 3 years until December 2027. Justice Ramasubramaniam was informed about the appointment through a letter, and this is done under the National Human Rights Commission in terms of Section 3(2) Clause A of the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. So this is the clause or section through which the appointment basically is made. He retired on June 29, 2023 after serving for over 3 years as a Supreme Court judge. During his tenure, he was part of several benches in important cases, including the 5-judge bench that upheld the center's demonetization scheme in 2023 and the decision to set aside a RBI circular that stated it would not provide services to individuals and businesses dealing with cryptocurrency. These are some very important, significant judgments that need to be remembered. His legal career began after he completed his LLB from Madras Law College, and these are some of the details about the judge. At his own request, he was transferred to the High Court for the states of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh in April 2016 and remained in Hyderabad after the court was bifurcated and served as a judge of the Telangana High Court until he was appointed as the Chief Justice of the Himachal Pradesh High Court on June 22, 2009. The previous NHRC chairman, Justice Arun Mishra, completed his term on June 1. It has since been functioning under the aegis of acting chairperson, that is Vijay Bharti Sayani. Now, what are the important duties of NHRC? It is empowered to investigate allegations of human rights violations, either of its own accord or after receiving a petition from a victim or someone on their behalf. It may also intervene as a party in ongoing cases concerning human rights violations, make recommendations aimed at protecting human rights, and conduct or promote research in related fields. So all the previous chairpersons have also been associated with the Supreme Court. Under 2019, only former Chief Justice of India could be appointed as NHRC chairperson. However, in July 2019, the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 was amended to also allow former Supreme Court judges for the post. Following Justice Mishra, Justice Ramasubramanian will be now the second NHRC chairperson to have never served as the Chief Justice of India. So these are both Supreme Court judges who did not serve as the Chief Justice of India. There's one question that can be formed from this particular article as well. That is, which of the following statements regarding the appointment of Justice V Ramasubramanian as the chairperson of National Human Rights Commission is correct? Justice Ramasubramanian is the first NHRC chairperson who has not served as the Chief Justice of India. This is wrong. He's the second one. NHRC chairperson is appointed under the provisions of the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. This is correct. Justice Ramasubramanian was the Chief Justice of the Himachal Pradesh High Court before his appointment to the Supreme Court. This is wrong. NHRC chairperson can only be a former Chief Justice of India as per the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. No, the Act has been recently amended, wherein even a judge of the Supreme Court can be appointed as the chairperson of the NHRC. So these are the prominent and relevant questions which could have been asked, which could be asked in the upcoming prelims examination. And with this, I would like to end my part of the session. Thank you so much.
Hello all, today I am going to discuss some of the important articles of the Hindu. The very first article that we are going to discuss is related to Bangladesh request to India regarding the extradition of Sheikh Hasina, जो former prime minister थी बांग्लादेश की. तो in this article, what you need to know ना कि what is extradition. तो extradition is a legal process जो international relation में whereby a country formally request another country to hand over the fugitive any form of fugitive offender जिसकी ट्रायल उसके होम कंट्री में हो सके. तो it depends on the friendliness of the both country or which type of relation they have or whether they have any treaty related to extradition or not. So this is important. This is important also because Bangladesh is a neighboring country of India और कहीं ना कहीं जो रिलेशनशिप होता है और यहाँ पे एक जो फॉरेन हेड है जो फॉर्मर हेड है बांग्लादेश का वो इंडिया में है और वो अभी के जो करंट गवर्नमेंट है उसको डिमांड कर रही है एक्सट्रेडिशन का. तो इस पे जो भी एक्शन लेगी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया दैट इज गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट द ओवरऑल बायलैटरल रिलेशन ऑफ द इंडिया विद द बांग्लादेश. There is another article that is related to the Kashmiri artist give wing to the dodo. So in this article is really important for prelims point of view. So what you need to know, now you need to know ki what is dodo. So dodo is a bird. First of all, you need to know ki what is dodo. Dodo is a bird that became extinct in 1681 within 80 years of its interaction with human and exposure to the depleting forest. तो ये extinct हो गया 1681 में. 80 up to 80 years ये it was with the in the interaction of the ह्यूमन. और जो डिप्लीशन हुआ फॉरेस्ट का, दैट वाज द प्राइम रीजन बिहाइंड इट्स एक्सटिंक्शन. along with that there is another fact that is dodo were last seen in the Mauritius, और ये मॉरिशस का नेशनल एम्ब्लेम भी है. तो these 3 points are really important for prelims point of view, तो ये आप नोट डाउन कर सकते हो. Apart from this, there is two very good articles in the editorial part. The very first editorial is talking about India's steel frame does need a check. Here we are referring to the bureaucracy of India. As we know, IAS officers is generally in metaphorical terms referred as the steel frame of the country. So why it is needed? It is needed because governance challenge demands urgent reform to modernize its bureaucracy. Bureaucracy के reform पे हमारा governance depend करेगा, and how effective our governance system is will depend on the effectiveness of the bureaucracy. So in the second part, this article is talking about the legacy and challenge of the IAS officers, और जो IAS की service है उसकी. तो legacy की बात करें तो as we all know, it is related to the colonial India, when civil service as a ICS, Indian Civil Services originated. It was launched by the colonial government, but post independence it played very vital role in administrative machinery and occupied a pivotal role in the governance. However, right now we are facing some sort of challenges related to IAS officer. Those challenges kya hai, we need to know. First is the politicization of the IAS. It is being done through the frequent transfer, suspension, and promotions influenced by the political loyal rather than the merit, and have undermined the moral and the professionalism of the service. तो ये बहुत major challenge है. We often see the news कि IAS officers or even IPS officers are frequently being transferred. So there is a factor, there is a fear factor कि if a political boss is saying something and if I am going to oppose that thing, so that may lead to my transfer to some unfavorable place, और कहीं और भी ट्रांसफर हो सकता है. तो there is this is a major challenge to Indian bureaucracy. Second is the corruption and efficiency. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट यहाँ पे एक वर्ल्ड बैंक का डेटा है जो बोलता है कि मेजर्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इफेक्टिवनेस इंडिया रैंक ओनली मॉडरेटली, रिफ्लेक्टिंग द पुअर क्वालिटी ऑफ पुअर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव इंडिपेंडेंस. तो कहीं ना कहीं बिकॉज ऑफ द करप्शन वी आर नॉट इफेक्टिवली इम्प्लीमेंटिंग गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज, एंड कहीं ना कहीं अकाउंटेबिलिटी की जो बात करें दैट इज ऑल्सो ऑन द स्टेक. थर्ड पॉइंट यहाँ पे बात करता है एग्जीक्यूटिव लेड governance in India, characterized by the centralized decision making, has yielded mixed result. So what is happening, what impact this over centralization of decision making have on the bureaucracy? So because of that, power structure often sidelines bureaucracy insight and expertise, reducing their ability to act effective policy executors. We all know that bureaucrats are domain expert, but because of the excessive centralization, their expertise is not being used by the government, और उसकी जो expertise है वो governance में भी use नहीं कर पा रहे. In the fourth point is यहाँ पे ये है कि the recent government is trying to reform the overall system of the bureaucracy. However, excessive centralizing power in the prime minister office risk undermine the autonomy of the senior bureaucrats. Yes, we are talking about the reform, but kahin na kahin the power center is somewhere near the PMO. तो उस कारण से जो ऑटोनॉमी होती है सीनियर ब्यूरोक्रेट्स की, दैट इज बीइंग अंडरमाइंड. यहाँ पे फिर दो डेटा है. जो फर्स्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म कमीशन दैट वाज कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड इन 1966 एंड सब्सिक्वेंट कमीशन, दे हैव consistently emphasized the need for specialization, accountability and merit based promotion within the bureaucracy. However, अभी तक हम इसको effectively implement नहीं किए recommendations की. On the same line, the second ARC set up in 2005 laid out the blueprint for the administrative reform. यहाँ पे भी बात करें तो सेम चीज को दोहराया गया. That was the lowering the permissible age of the entry into the civil services, introducing performance based promotion and lateral entry की बात की गई थी सेकंड ARC में. तो अब बात करते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट पुश फॉर रिफॉर्म, जो रिफॉर्म की बात कर रहे हैं कि पुश कर रही है गवर्नमेंट, तो टू व्हाट एक्सटेंट वी आर एबल टू अचीव इट. तो यहाँ पे फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी नीड टू नो कि गवर्नमेंट हैज रिसेंटली इंट्रोड्यूस्ड लैटरल एंट्री इनटू द सीनियर ब्यूरोक्रेसी पोजीशन. अगर डेटा की बात करें तो बाय 2023 दिस इनिशिएटिव सॉ द अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ 57 ऑफिसर्स. यूपीएससी हैज आल्सो release notification for 45 posts for the lateral entry, and this shift has disrupted the IAS traditional dominance with only 33% joint secretary at the center now belonging to the IAS compared to the near total dominance decade ago. जो joint secretary level के officers होते हैं, they are mainly from the IAS batch, but now that is reduced by यू कैन से 77%, और अभी का जो उनका वहां पे स्टेक है दैट इज ओनली 33%. उसके बाद से इसमें बात की जाए, एक बहुत इनोवेटिव स्टेप्स की बात की गई है दैट हैज बीन टेकन बाय द यूएस गवर्नमेंट, एंड दैट गिव्स ए मॉडल फॉर अस, जो कि हम भी इम्प्लीमेंट रेप्लिकेट कर सकते हैं अपने कंट्री में. दैट इज रिलेटेड टू यूएस प्रपोज डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ गवर्नेंस इफिशियंसी. तो ये क्या है, DOGE जो है that focus on cutting wasteful expenditure and introducing accountability mechanism resonate with the challenge faced by the Indian bureaucracy. So it is mainly for the efficiency purpose, and we know that we are also suffering from this problem. So making such domain making such a department in our country is going to help us in solving all those problems. In this last part of the article, this article is talking about the challenges to reform. What are the challenges that we are focusing if you are trying to do reform? The first challenge is resistance from within the services, where seniority based progression and generalist approach are deeply institutionalized. So as we know कि जो रिफॉर्म की हम बात करते हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं जो पहला रेसिस्टेंस आता है दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द विद इन द सर्विस. जो वहां पे सीनियर पोस्ट पे जो ऑफिसर्स है, दे डोंट वांट टू चेंज द स्टेटस क्यो. दूसरा यहाँ पे बात करता है पॉलिटिकल इंटरफेरेंस फर्दर कॉम्प्लिकेट रिफॉर्म एफर्ट्स. कहीं ना कहीं पॉलिटिकल चीजें भी होती है, पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर भी गवर्नमेंट पे होती है. तीसरी बात करें तो जो जुडिशरी के भी इंटरवेंशन की बात करते हैं, तो इंडिया सच है सुप्रीम कोर्ट अगर कोई इंटरवेंशन करता है, डायरेक्शन देता है, तो एस्टैब्लिश सिविल सर्विस बोर्ड्स इन 2013 एक डायरेक्शन था सुप्रीम कोर्ट का, हैव बीन लिमिटेड इंपैक्ट ड्यू टू लैक ऑफ इन्फोर्समेंट. अगर जुडिशरी भी आगे बढ़ के आती है एंड दे आर सजेस्टिंग समथिंग टू डू, बट वी आर because of lack of implementation it is not being done. In the last part, this article is talking how can we sort out all these issues. So we can sort these issues with multi-factorial approach to administrative reform is vital to address the challenges of Indian bureaucracy. So we need a multi-factorial approach in order to solve all these issues. तो मेंस के लिए काफी important article है, because you see there is questions in the ethics paper related to the Indian civil service. There is question in the सेकेंड पेपर. आप इसको कहीं ना कहीं ऐसे पेपर में भी इसके कुछ कोटेशन कुछ डेटा को यूज कर सकते हैं. तो बहुत अच्छा आर्टिकल, यू कैन प्रिपेयर इट. देयर इज अनदर आर्टिकल दैट इज द गैटिफिकेशन ऑफ वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. व्हाई वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस? बिकॉज WTO is set to miss another crucial target of revitalizing a full and well-functioning dispute settlement system by the end of 2024. And why it is happening? It is happening because of the persistent blockage by the United States. एज वी नो कि एपिलेट जो बॉडी होती है WTO को, लास्ट 5 ईयर से फंक्शनल नहीं है, नॉन ऑपरेशनल है, और कहीं ना कहीं इसमें यूएस का रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. तो दो प्रोमिसेस की बात करें इसमें, तो यहाँ पे ये आता है कि जो WTO का हम एस्टेब्लिश किए थे एज ए कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सिस्टम ऑफ रूल गवर्निंग ट्रेड इन गुड्स सर्विसेज एंड इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी along with binding two-tier dispute settlement system featuring an appellate function, compulsory jurisdiction, and effective retaliation for compliance. तो in this part we see कि why we have constituted this WTO. तो इसमें ये था कि rule based trade हो goods and services का, there should be a proper two tier appellate system, जहाँ पे अगर कोई कंपनी को किसी कंट्री को कोई इशू है तो अपीलेट सिस्टम को अप्रोच कर सकती है अगर कहीं पे एनी फॉर्म ऑफ ट्रेड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो रहा है टैरिफ से रिलेटेड. इन दैट केस आल्सो द कंट्री कैन अप्रोच द अपीलेट सिस्टम ऑफ द WTO. यहाँ पे फिर एक दूसरा पॉइंट जो आपके एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि जो ट्रांजिशन की बात करते हैं फ्रॉम द जनरल एग्रीमेंट ऑन टैरिफ एंड ट्रेड, जो पहले गैट के नाम से हम जानते थे WTO के एस्टेब्लिशमेंट से पहले, इरा दैट हेल्ड स्वे from 1948 to 1994. During this period, GATT was functional. To the WTO, उसके बाद से marked a shift from diplomacy based trade multilateralism to rule based system. Why we changed from GATT to WTO? Because we wish to shift from the diplomacy based trade multilateralism to rule based system. So this was the purpose, because of that WTO was created. So why this issue, why US is not supporting the why US is not supporting the initiative being taken by the WTO related to the अपीलेट बॉडी? तो इसके पीछे एक रीजन ये है कि अगर हम चाइना के इंट्रोडक्शन की बात करें WTO में, तो दैट वाज फैसिलिटेटेड बाय द US इन 2001. उसके पीछे रीजन क्या था? US होप्ड दैट कि दिस वुड लेड बीजिंग टू डिसमेंटल इट्स स्टेट लेड इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन पॉलिसी. कहीं ना कहीं जो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन पॉलिसी है चाइना का, बिकॉज ऑफ द कम्युनिस्ट गवर्नमेंट, दैट इज स्टेट लेड. US को ये लगा कि विच वी आर डिटरमाइंड टू, अगर हम WTO में उसको लाते हैं, चाइना को लाते हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं चाइना अपने स्टेट लेड जो डेवलपमेंट पॉलिसीज है उसको विड्रॉ करेगा और अडॉप्ट करेगा फ्री मार्केट प्रिंसिपल को. हाउएवर इट डिडंट हैपन, ये हुआ नहीं. और WTO में जब चाइना आया तो इंस्टीट्यूशनल कंट्रोल जो है ना, तो कहीं ना कहीं इसकी जो प्रोविजन है, थ्रू दैट China using this provisions, this institution for its own benefit. On यहाँ पे एक और पॉइंट है, the WTO and its institutional control hinder the US from dealing decisively with the China. तो कहीं ना कहीं ये रोड ब्लॉक का काम कर रहा है US के लिए when it comes to controlling the China. Because of that reason, US is not supporting the recent initiative of the WTO. लास्ट में इस अगर आर्टिकल को कंक्लूड करें हम, तो इसमें एक बात की गई है कि द लीगल रिवॉल्यूशन ऑफ international trade multilateralism that began in 1995 has not only been paused, but it's being reversed, moving us back to the era of GATT diplomacy, because US is always creating a sort of hindrance, and because of that the WTO का effectiveness कम हो रहा है, and कहीं ना कहीं we are regressing to the GATT era. वहां पे जो क्या होता है कि जो मल्टीलेटरल डिप्लोमेसी बेस्ड ट्रेड होती थी, जहां पे कि दो देशों के डिप्लोमेट्स आपस में चीजों को डिसाइड करते थे, not the international system was not there was no rule based system. So once again we are regressing to that process, that era. तो दिस इज द बेसिक टेक अवे ऑफ दिस आर्टिकल्स. एज फार एज अगर हम बात करें कि विच टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस कैन बी फाउंड फ्रॉम दिस आर्टिकल, तो अगर पहला आर्टिकल था जो डोडो बर्ड से था, तो यहाँ पे स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चन कैन बी फॉर्म. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, द कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट रिगार्डिंग द डोडो बर्ड्स एंड इट्स रेलेवेंस. तो जो पहला स्टेटमेंट है, द डोडो बर्ड बिकेम एक्सटिंक्ट इन 1681 ड्यू टू ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन एंड एक्सपोजर टू डिप्लीटिंग फॉरेस्ट. कहीं ना कहीं ये स्टेटमेंट सही है, जैसे कि हमने आर्टिकल में भी देखा, सेम स्टेटमेंट है. मॉरिशस कंसीडर्स द डोडो बर्ड इट्स नेशनल एम्ब्लेम, ये भी स्टेटमेंट सही है. पेपियर मशीन मॉडल ऑफ द डोडो क्रिएट श्रीनगर हैव बीन एक्सपोर्टेड टू मॉरिशस एंड यूरोप, ये स्टेटमेंट भी सही है. कहीं ना कहीं ये जो मशीन बेस्ड मॉडल है ये रिवोल्यूशनाइज कर रहा है, और श्रीनगर से लार्ज स्केल ऑफ जो ऑर्डर है वो एक्सपोर्ट किया जा रहा है बाहर के देशों में. तो तीनों स्टेटमेंट सही है. जो दूसरा स्टेटमेंट था, दूसरा आर्टिकल था वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से रिलेटेड, उस पे भी आप मल्टीपल ऑप्शन बेस्ड क्वेश्चन एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं. फर्स्ट की द WTO अपीलेट बॉडी हैज बीन नॉन ऑपरेशनल फॉर 5 years ड्यू टू द परसिस्टेंट ब्लॉकिंग ऑफ मेंबर्स अपॉइंटेड बाय द US. तो कहीं ना कहीं स्टेटमेंट सही है. दूसरा था कि द ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम जनरल एग्रीमेंट गैट टू द WTO मार्क ए शिफ्ट फ्रॉम डिप्लोमेसी बेस्ड मल्टीलेटरल टू रूल बेस्ड सिस्टम। तो कहीं ना कहीं यही रीजन था, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट वी क्रिएटेड द WTO। तो दूसरा स्टेटमेंट भी सही है। थर्ड स्टेटमेंट, चाइना accession to the WTO in 2001 led to the complete dismantling of its state-led industrial policy. No, this is the uh, con, this is the issue. Because of that, US is not supporting the recent initiative of the WTO. To the statement third is the incorrect statement. So only one and two will be the correct. So this is all from my side. The second part of the Hindu will be covered by the Gaurav sir. Thank you.
Hello and good morning to today's edition of Daily News Digest. So today is 24th of December and we have some few important articles from today's edition of The Hindu, so which we will discuss in detail. So let's begin. I'm sharing my screen. So the very first article is very important from my point of view, particularly for your like prelims exam, and also this pertains to your like GS paper 3. So the news is, how does Google GenCast AI, which predicts the weather, work? So how this artificial intelligence which predicts the weather events, which is created by the Google, works actually. So this article is all about it. It's a very detailed article. So let's begin. So on December 4, Google DeepMind unveiled GenCast, an artificial intelligence AI model. The company said could forecast the weather better than the most existing model. So we still have existing model which predicts the current weather events and the future weather events, but this model is going to be superior. So the student should know there is a word mention of deep mind. आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि इस साल का जो केमिस्ट्री का नोबेल मिला है फॉर द प्रिडिक्शन ऑफ द प्रोटीन structure by submitting the amino acid sequences is also done by Google DeepMind team. Okay, so moving ahead. So how do we forecast weather? So currently, what are the models through which we forecast the weather? We can know about this from this section. The weather prediction are produced by running multiple numerical simulations of the atmosphere. एक mathematical models होता है, statistical model होता है, जिसके थ्रू हम लोग एक लॉन्ग टर्म का डेटा होता है, उसको फीड करते हैं, उसको एनालाइज करते हैं, एंड थ्रू विच वी कैन प्रिडिक्ट द current weather events or the future coming weather events in of like 7 days 1 week advance हम weather events को हम जान सकते हैं. So if simulation start from a slightly different estimate of the current weather, this is because we don't know exactly what the weather is at this instant everywhere in the world. So हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि जो each simulation करते हैं, हम लोग different data feed करते हैं, क्योंकि हमें नहीं पता है exactly क्या weather event होने वाला है पूरे वर्ल्ड अक्रॉस में. तो बाय ट्विकिंग द डेटा वी कैन हैव अ डिफरेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ वेदर इवेंट का हमको फॉरकास्ट मिल जाएगा. एंड बाय नोइंग थ्रू द कि किस एरिया में क्या एग्जैक्टली वेदर पैटर्न चल रहा है, देन वी कैन प्रिडिक्ट कि इस एरिया में क्या फ्यूचर इन द कोर्स ऑफ फ्यूचर कैसी वेदर होने वाली है. सो दिस मॉडल जो है एग्जैक्टली इसका नाम है न्यूमेरिकल वेदर प्रिडिक्शन. द बेस्ट NWP फॉरकास्ट रिक्वायर द यूज ऑफ पावरफुल सुपर कंप्यूटर्स चाहिए होता है टू एनालाइज द डेटा, टू लाइक प्रोसेस द डेटा. उसके लिए पावरफुल कंप्यूटर्स चाहिए होता है. इंडिया में आप सीट जो एरावत है वो इस काम के लिए है. इट इज द फास्टेस्ट सुपर कंप्यूटर इन इंडिया. ओके, नाउ एनसेम्बल फॉरकास्ट enter the picture in 1990s. Here the scientists use NWP model to produce multiple forecasts at a certain location in a time with different starting condition. This forecast is called ensemble. एक बहुत सारा हम एक 10 तरह का 10 एक टाइम पे हम 5 10 25 50 अगर वेदर फोरकास्ट देते हैं एक रीजन के लिए, तो इसको एनसेम्बल कहा जाता है. ठीक है. नाउ हाउ दिस जेनकास्ट परफॉर्म, हाउ इट इज दिस डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द करंट मॉडल, वी विल नो फ्रॉम दिस सेक्शन. The Google GenCast also uses ensemble. However, option in ensemble come from AI model rather than NWP. जो आप देखोगे न्यूमेरिकल वेदर प्रिडिक्शन है, उसकी जगह इसमें AI होता है. AI में क्या करते हैं, हम 40 ईयर का डेटा जो है वेदर का डेटा है उससे हम AI को ट्रेन करवाएंगे. लाइक वी नो दैट इफ द वी गिव अ विंड पैटर्न देंगे, हम एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर देंगे, हम टेम्परेचर देंगे कि ये पर्टिकुलर है एक पर्टिकुलर रीजन का, और तो उसका वेदर प्रिडिक्शन, उसका वेदर इवेंट क्या था उस फलान एक आफ्टर वन वन वीक और आफ्टर 1 डे, तो क्या वेदर इवेंट था हम, क्योंकि वो नॉन इवेंट्स थे. Now when we will put unknown events, अगर हम अननो अभी हमको पता नहीं है एग्जैक्टली हमने उसमें पुट किया एक वेदर इवेंट्स कि ये टेम्परेचर है, ये प्रेशर है, नाउ इट हैज एबिलिटी टू प्रिडिक्ट व्हाट द वेदर विल बी. ओके, सो बाय फीडिंग द अननोन डेटा वी कैन नो इन द फ्यूचर दैट कि एक अननोन डेटा क्या होगा. ठीक है, तो हमने पहले नोन डेटा फीड किया, उससे हम अननोन डेटा है वो एक नोन फ्यूचर इवेंट है वो जान सकते हैं. तो जेन कास्ट वॉज जो है उसको ट्रेन किया गया दो स्टेप्स में. स्टेप 1 in 3.5 days and step 2 in the 1.5 days. Just like ChatGPT is good at identifying what next word is in unfinished sentence could be, GenCast is also good at guessing what the weather will be next moment. Okay, just because we have trained it, हमने नोन डेटा फीड करके इसको अननोन वेदर इवेंट्स के लिए ट्रेन कर दिया, तो इट कैन ऑलवेज प्रिडिक्ट द अननोन इवेंट बाय नोइंग द what are the conditions, prevailing atmospheric condition. ठीक है, अब now thing is how this GenCast work. The AI model described in a paper had neural network, नोट्स और इसमें एक एजेस लिखे हुए जो इंटैक्ट जो टर्म्स होते हैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाते हैं. तो व्हाट आर नोट्स? नोट्स इज अ पॉइंट through which data, input data is accepted, and edge is a connection between the nodes. So this becomes important, and you should also know this year physics award is Nobel award for the physics was awarded for this neural network only. Okay, so it becomes important. The model runs the combination through refinement. So इट रन्स मल्टीपल रिफाइनमेंट बिकॉज जो पहला एक तरह से डेटा आता है उसमें नॉइज होता है, उसको वो रिफाइन करते करते 30 रिफाइनमेंट करता है, तब जाके एक आप देखोगे इट इट it finishes after 30 refinements. So refinement in the main means that it keeps on tweaking and tweaking. Okay, so GenCast produces at least 50 forecasts at a time for the ensemble, and Google has said that each forecast can produce in a parallel in all. The ensemble contain forecast for 15 days at a time. अब आप देखोगे ये सुपीरियर इसलिए है क्योंकि पहले के जो मॉडल है 1 वीक इन एडवांस का वेदर प्रिडिक्ट कर पाते थे. इट कैन प्रिडिक्ट 15 days in advance the weather event. What will be the weather event? It can predict 15 days in advance. Okay, so now what are like is superiority in comparison to today's model? So GenCast forecasts are probabilistic rather than deterministic. That is, there will be 25% of rain in Chennai on the December 25 rather than there will be 5 millimeter of rain in Chennai. So it is like आपको एक तरह से क्वांटिटी नहीं बता रहा है, ये क्वालिटी बता रहा है कि चांसेस हैं कि हो जाएगा, ये वेदर इवेंट होगा, ये नहीं बताएगा कि कितना होगा. ठीक है, सो व्हाट आर इट्स लाइक यूटिलिटी क्या है? तो प्रोबेबिलिस्टिक फोरकास्ट आर एक्सट्रीम इवेंट. So instead of relying on the quantitative prediction, the probabilistic forecast provide more lead time, which can use for better preparation. Former Secretary of General माधवन राजीव ने ये बात बताई है. ठीक है, तो इसका प्रोबेबिलिस्टिक का ये है कि एडवर्स वेदर इवेंट्स को हम बेहतर जान सकते हैं, पहले प्रिडिक्ट कर सकते हैं, एंड वी कैन make our preparation accordingly. So meanwhile it just Google have also started working on like deterministic models also. So traditional model remain essential for this work. ये गूगल डीप माइंड ने कहा कि दे वर्क इन सिनर्जी विद द ट्रेडिशनल मॉडल्स आल्सो. सो डीप माइंड हैज आल्सो वर्किंग ऑन ए मॉडल कॉल्ड ग्राफ्सकास्ट to develop deterministic medium range forecast. Google research has been developing a model called neural GCM that combines AI and NWP models to generate deterministic forecast. ठीक है, so आप देखोगे ये जो टाइट पूरा आर्टिकल है इसमें बहुत साइंटिफिक लिंगोस का यूज किया गया है, एंड वी ऑल नो यूपीएससी यूज आस्क दीज लिंगोस टू टेस्ट योर साइंटिफिक नॉलेज for especially in the prelims. So always make a note of these scientific terms. So moving to next article, it is from Switzerland had taken away MFN status from India, and it is related to that. So we will have a look at that. So MFN not to hit India-EFTA pact. So Swiss decision to suspend the most favored nation clause in double taxation avoidance agreement will not delay the ratification and implementation of the already signed trade agreement between India and EFTA bloc, Switzerland has said. So what is that EFTA? So EFTA is the India and the four nation European Free Trade Association signed a agreement. And who are the members of the EFTA? They are like Iceland है, ठीक है, लिechtenstein है, नॉर्वे एंड स्विट्जरलैंड. These are the four members who are a bloc, EFTA bloc, which signed free trade agreement with India. Now, इसमें जानने वाली बात है कि MFN क्या होता है. So MFN is a clause, WTA clause. Along with this, you can also know about national treatment क्या होता है. So in the most favored nation, if you according to WTO principle, if you reduce a tariff for any one country of the WTO, you have to reciprocate it to all the members. So let's say India reduced tariff for say Nepal on anything, like it is importing coal or steel from Nepal, then it has to reduce tariff for all the other countries who are members of WTO. So right now there are 164, 165 members. So India has to reciprocate in the manner to the same all the countries. Now national treatment क्या होता है? National treatment ये होता है what uh, sort of conditions you give to your nationals, you have to also give to the foreigners. That means you cannot discriminate between your nationals and foreigners. Whatever taxes, tariffs you are taking it from your citizens, same treatment you have to mete it out to the foreigners also. This is a national treatment. And then double taxation avoidance treaty क्या होता है? So this means that, take for example, an Indian citizen who is working in, let's say, UK is taxable in UK also and India also. तो एक तरह से इससे होता है कि अगर एक बंदा दो जगह उसको टैक्सेस लिए जा रहे हैं, इट इज एडवाइजेबल टू टेक टैक्सेस फ्रॉम एनी वन प्लेस ओनली. तो ठीक है, इस केस में क्या हुआ, नेस्ले which is a Swiss company was taxed in India and also in the Switzerland. So it is a breach of DTTA, and hence Switzerland thought that India is not reciprocating in the manner that Switzerland have, because they have reduced many sort of tariffs for India, but India has not reciprocated. That's why they have taken MFN status from the India. So it is a whole picture cut to short. This is a whole picture and you can know more about it. Now coming to the questions, what questions can be formed from the like two articles we have discussed. I have like prepared two questions from the first article because it was very informative articles and particularly important for your like prelims exam. So with reference to Google DeepMind GenCast, consider the following statement. GenCast uses reanalysis data from 14 years to train its AI model. Unlike numerical weather prediction model, GenCast produces deterministic weather forecast. GenCast can produce a 15 days weather ensemble forecast faster than the current model जो चल रहा है. ठीक है, तो इसमें आप देखोगे सेकंड स्टेटमेंट बोल रहा है डिटर्मिनिस्टिक वेदर फोरकास्ट करता है, नहीं, ये प्रोबेबिलिस्टिक करता है. तो इस तरह से ये स्टेटमेंट गलत हो गया. ओनली 1 and 3 इसका फिर correct option होगा and correct option is B only. Now coming to second question, consider the following statement regarding probabilistic weather forecasting and application. Probabilistic forecast provide more lead time compared to deterministic forecast, making them more useful to extreme weather events. तो ये ठीक स्टेटमेंट है. Probabilistic models like GenCast depend on historical weather condition and laws of physics for their foundational data. This is also correct. Probabilistic forecasting completely replaces deterministic forecasting for accurate short term prediction. No, it's not correct. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये एक तरह से ओनली क्वालिटी बोलता है कि देयर आर चांसेस ऑफ 25%, 50%, नॉट एक्चुअल इवेंट. ठीक है, तो इसलिए ये ओनली 1 and 2 इसका सही है. तो ये अपने आप में ये आर्टिकल्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इसलिए इस पे क्वेश्चन बनाया गया. होप यू हैव लाइक टुडे सेशन एंड वी लुक फॉरवर्ड फॉर मीटिंग यू टुमारो आल्सो. थैंक यू.